Hello, I've come to stop here on top of this ridge, somewhere between Strathmore, Alberta and Brooks. And as I take a break here after biking for a couple hours, I'll give you your Ride4Rufiji Moment number 9. And this one might be a little bit longer than the ones before, but I believe it's worth it. I have a lot of good things to say, and to start out, I want to give you another God story. And if you're keeping count, this is God story number 3, but probably there are many more that I haven't mentioned. We stayed with a couple last night, Carlo and Ann, a great godly couple. But we were hooked up with Carlo and Ann through a friend of a friend. There are a few people during this ride that have just been all-stars, that God has used in incredible ways to bless us. And one of those people is Peter Ritchie. Peter Ritchie is a missionary with SIM. He's been home for a little while from Angola. I wish I could tell you more about him, but the thing is I don't even know him that well. Sarah and I, before this ride, we were at an orientation with SIM, and SIM being our mission agency serving in missions. Near the end of this orientation, we were all packed up in the van ready to go back home to Port Perry, but we thought we should go back in one last time and say goodbye to some of the people there, some of the missionaries and staff. So we went back into the office, the headquarters in Scarborough, just to say goodbye one last time, and we ran into this man, Peter, who we had never met before, who had just come into the office, who actually lives out in Olds, Alberta. We briefly told him all about this ride. I think I'd be exaggerating to say that we spent 5 minutes with him. And he said that he would help out. Well, I did not know how much God would use Peter to bless our family. He is by himself arranged almost all of our host homes here in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Carlo and Ann being one of them. Ann was telling me we were trying to figure out how this connection was even made, and Ann said, well, she was just working in the church in Strathmore. She only works one day a week on Tuesdays, so that the staff can have a meeting. She works as a secretary and mans the phones. At the same time, Peter called the church. Just called the church because knowing that we were going to stop in Strathmore and seeing if anybody could take us in and host us in that city. Well, Ann, who doesn't normally work at the church, took the call, and she heard our story from Peter, and she said, well, you know, myself and my husband Carlo, we could take them in. And so that's our connection. And as the story progresses, it turns out that Carlo is a masseuse, and I'd be lying if I said that this bike ride hasn't been a little bit taxing on my body. It hasn't hurt a little bit. My back, the top part of my back has just been killing me, and so as God would have it, through a friend of a friend, Peter, who we met for 5 minutes, and Ann, who Peter didn't even know, but just randomly, if there's anything random in the kingdom of God, spoke to, agreed to be our host. And Carlo helped me out greatly last night in fixing my back and massaging it back to health. So just a little God story, another God story, but I thank God for Carlo and Ann. I thank God for all our host homes and for Peter Ritchie. And I don't know much about his mission. Like I said, I've only spoke with him for a couple minutes, and he's gone to bat for us so much, and I'm so thankful. And so if a man named Peter ever comes to you and says, I'm Angola bound, I'm looking to go back to Angola as a missionary, I suggest that you invest in his work, because from what I've seen, he is a man of God, a man who works very hard, and I've been so blessed. My family, the Bakers, have been so blessed by this man and many others, many angels along the way that have helped us, that God has raised up for such a time as this. From the Word of God today, Matthew chapter 4. Jesus is going through the Galilee. He's actually leaving to work among the villages, the little villages that live off the Sea of Galilee. because he hears that John the Baptist has been put in prison and the pressure is on, and so he leaves to minister among these people. And it says, the Sea of Galilee, the Galilee of the Gentiles, who once were in great darkness, have seen a great light, who were in the shadow of death, have a great light has dawned upon them. And you can read that in Matthew chapter 4, but it seems very reminiscent and follows along very closely to the mission statement that we have for the Rufiji people in Tanzania, which is Romans 15, 20 to 21. It has always been my ambition to preach the gospel, Paul is saying this, where Christ is not known, so that I would not be building on someone else's foundation. Rather, as it is written, those who are not told about him will see, and those who have not heard will understand. We are very excited for the mission statement that God has given us, that a great light has dawned upon a group of people, upon a group of Muslim people, the Muslim of the Rufiji River, just like the Galilee of the Gentiles, the Muslim of the Rufiji River, a forgotten people, a nothing people on the scene, on the greater scene of Tanzania. If you really want to connect with a dynamic population, the most concentrated population in Tanzania, you don't go and live among the Rufiji. You go to the Dar es Salaam. The Dar es Salaam, there will be 2 million, 3 million, 4 million people, and it is constantly moving. Tanzania is passing through the corridors of Dar es Salaam. But it seems to me that God has directed us to the Rufiji. Might not be millions of people in that area, maybe directly surrounding the property where my wife and I plan on living. There might only be 20, 30,000 people. But the thing about that is in 10 years from now, it'll be the same 20, 30,000 people that live there today. It is a static population. It is a community. And I believe, especially with reaching out to Muslims, that it is necessary to plant yourself in a static community, because change doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes building relationships with these people. They truly do need to deny themselves, pick up their crosses, and follow Christ. And they forsake all else. They lose their family, they lose their friends, they lose everything that they have formerly known and loved. And so it is not an overnight process. And so I believe that a static population is necessary for changing a Muslim's heart to Jesus Christ. And I think Jesus was the same. In Jesus' day, Jerusalem would have been the Dar es Salaam of Israel. It was the dynamic population. It was where it was at in Israel. But Jesus didn't go to Jerusalem. It says in Matthew 4 that he left to go to the Galilee of the Gentiles, the Sea of Galilee, all the villages surrounding this little sea. And I've been to Israel and seen it, and frankly, it's nothing, nowhere. It's an insignificant area within the greater scene of Israel. But this is where Jesus concentrated his ministry on the simple folk that were taking their livelihood off of this sea. He spent time there. He ministered to them. He had a relationship with these people, and from this humble setting, the people that were raised up, the disciples that were raised up in this area, went on to change the world. And so I believe that God has given us the same calling among the Rufiji people of Tanzania, that although they're not the dynamic population, they're the static population, that we can take our time among these people, we can build up disciples, and these disciples we can send back to the Dar es Salaam, and we can send back to the places like Zanzibar. Do your research and understand the situation in Zanzibar. I'll maybe speak about that later on in another Ride4Rufiji moment. But we can, Lord willing, through his strength, win disciples in the Rufiji, build them up, raise them up, and send them out to the rest of Tanzania as disciples of Jesus Christ. And I believe that way, and this is the way, Tanzania will be changed. Tanzania will be changed for the glory of God, and Africa will be changed for the glory of God, and the whole world will be changed. This was Jesus' strategy for changing the world. It worked well. it clearly worked well. The world has never been the same since Jesus. And so this is the strategy that we model in our ministry to the Rufiji. And as I'm going to the Rufiji, and you can see why this is a long update, but there was much I wanted to share with you. There's something that I want to show you that I've been thinking about for a little while. It's a tattoo that I have on the back of my leg. And let me see if I can get this for you clearly. It's a little bit hard from doing this with this type of camera, but hopefully you can see it. I got it after my Iron Man. You can see there the little Iron Man there. There's a Canadian flag in the middle of it. There's a little biker down on the bottom, and it's on the back of my left leg. Many people, after they do their Iron Man, they get this tattoo, and I was thinking about it. I was thinking, how is this going to play in the context of the Rufiji Muslim in that setting? But I've realized as I've thought about it that this milestone, this marking on the back of my leg, is about far more than one little race. As you know, and as I've shared with you in previous Ride4Rufiji moments, that race, that Ironman race back in 2011, for which I have the tattoo, was the catalyst behind this ride that we're doing across Canada, the very reason that I got my bike. And I realized that this marking on the back of my leg is about far more than a little race. It is about the God story that we're writing together right now. The God story that's being written as I ride my bike from the west coast of Canada all the way to the east coast. The greater Ironman that is happening right now. And I think it gives me an opportunity, this thing on the back of my leg, this testimony on the back of my leg. It gives me an opportunity when people in the Rufiji ask, and they will, when my family moves among the Rufiji, and they say, what is that, tell us the story behind that marking on the back of your leg. I'll be able to tell them of the great people that we've met along the way during this ride across Canada, the foundation that was set for this ministry. As we biked across Canada, the people that have supported us along the way, all the people back in Canada that are praying for these Rufiji across the Great Pond. There's a great heritage, a great cloud of witnesses all around them, and this is the story. This is the testimony. This is the God story that I will share with them when they ask about this story, this marking that is on the back of my leg. The hope that's inside of me when they ask. This has been your Ride4Rufiji moment. I'm Graydon Baker, finishing off in Brooks, Alberta today. God bless you, and we'll see you tomorrow as we travel to Medicine Hat, which also happens to be my wife's and I anniversary, our wedding anniversary. We'll be married for 3 years tomorrow, June 12th. God bless you, take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.